Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily podcast, the show that dives deep into the world of technology, innovation and business every single day. So I'm your host, Neil C. Hughes, and today we have an exciting guest who is on a mission to change our relationship with one of the most contentious ingredients in our food. I'm talking about sugar. And as a big sugar addict myself, I'm particularly looking forward to this one because today, joining us from the sunny shores of Israel, Ari, the dynamic leader at the helm of the food tech company Incredo Sugar, is going to be sharing his trailblazing journey and how Incredo Sugar has achieved the near impossible. Using technology, they've been able to cut sugar in our diet without compromising on sweetness. It sounds contradictory, it takes a few seconds to get your head around it, but their patented product, Incredo Sugar, was recognised as a special mention in the best inventions of 2020 by Time. So I want to learn more about the tech that they're using, how they're using real cane or beet sugar, and Incredo Sugar is still able to change the game by delivering the same sweetness as conventional sugar, but with up to 50% less quantity. So Ari will explain that, its unique structure that makes all the difference. And we'll also discuss the arduous development process, the challenges faced in maintaining the texture, and also, of course, to make a difference. I want to know more about the collaboration with food manufacturers, the journey of incorporating this new product into other products, also the positive response that they're getting from the industry. Got a lot to talk about, so buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Tel Aviv, where Ari's going to share his story. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Ari. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm Ari Melamud. I'm the CEO for Incredo, formerly known as Dumatok, which is one of the leading food tech companies in Israel and globally, I think. I'm an Israeli, was born in Israel. I live in Israel. I lived in the US for a while when I was in high school, but this is where my base is.
And for anybody listening, I'm conscious that they might be hearing about you for the very first time, what you do and your mission to reduce sugar consumption while still using sugar as the primary sweetening agent. Could you just offer a bit of an overview of what you do there?
Yeah, so basically we are the first and I think the only company in the world today that is reducing sugar with sugar. So this is kind of a phenomenon. So, there are plenty of sugar alternatives in the market for decades now. And without going into too much technical details, the main problem for those sugar alternatives would be taste. So if you talk about stevia, if you talk about others like monk fruit and definitely aspartame, saccharin, those guys been around for many years. It's known that they have a different taste profile. So if you take a chocolate, you want to remove the sugar and you want to use stevia instead, it will completely change the taste of the product. On top of that, and this was confirmed by the World Health Organization just a couple of weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, is that they are also not good for us in many aspects. So we're actually in a different path where we've developed a solution that is actually based on sugar. So our sugar can allow food companies today, and there's sugar everywhere and too much of it, to reduce sugar in almost any application by anything from 30 to 50%. But the big advantage that we have is that because we use it based on sugar, we are able to maintain the original taste of the product. And that is very, very different than anything else that is in the market today. We'll probably go into more details in a minute, but as a concept, we're the only sugar-based sugar reduction solution in the world today.
And I've got to ask, how or where did the idea for Incredo Sugar come about? Is there a story behind what inspired you to pursue this innovative sugar reduction solution and leveraging technology, etc.? I feel there's got to be a story there, right?
There's a very inspiring story behind this. So, the one of the co-founders of the company was, his name is Professor Abraham Benio. So he's a very famous chemist in Israel, was one of the founders of the chemical industry in Israel, I would say. He worked for huge companies like Tate & Lyle and others, was one of the inventors of sucralose. etc. And he basically invented our first patent at the age of 95.
Wow.
Which is, we're used to founders and that are very young, in their 20s or 30s sometimes. So the fact that he actually invented our first patent at the age of 95 is very unique and inspiring from our perspective. Unfortunately, he passed away just about a year ago at the age of 103. But the background of all of this goes all the way back to the Second World War. And he had an idea at that time because there was not enough sugar in the world. Mm. So he had a thought that crossed his mind on how can we actually use less sugar and maintain the taste of the product. And he kind of forgot about the whole thing for so many years. And then one day at his kitchen at the age of 95, he remembered that old idea from the Second World War, and he started playing in his kitchen with some sugar, almost burned his house. But that ended with being our first patent.
Wow, what an absolutely inspirational story. I love that. And as this is a tech podcast, I've got to ask, can you tell me a little bit more about the science and technology behind it, and also how you can deliver the same level of sweetness with up to 50% less sugar?
Yeah, so basically, let's start with an example. So let's assume you take a bite of a regular milk chocolate. So milk chocolate usually have about anything from 45 to 55% sugar in it. So let's say 50% sugar in it. What happens in our mouth is that we break the chocolate with our teeth, and then it dissolves through our saliva and reach the taste receptors. And then the taste receptors would send a signal to our brain so we can differentiate the different tastes that we just felt. The problem is that this whole process takes just a few seconds before we swallow. And because it takes just a few seconds, it's quite a phenomenon that people are not aware of. But most of the sugar inside that bite doesn't have enough time to break, dissolve, and even reach the taste receptors. So what the taste, the sweet taste that we feel is just about 20 to 30% of that sugar that's inside our bite. The rest just goes into our body and turns into fat without affecting the taste whatsoever, which is, as you can understand, it's a huge waste.
Yeah.
The whole idea behind our technology is that we use the same sugar made out of sugar cane or sugar beet, but exactly the same process. But the way we structure our sugar crystals allow our crystals to be more fragile, or amorphous, it would be the professional word, which means that our sugar, which is almost like any other sugar, breaks faster and dissolves faster. So under those very few seconds before we swallow, we allow more sugar to be delivered to our taste receptors, which actually would give us a boost of sweetness if we kept the same level of sugar, which allows us to reduce significantly up to 50% without changing the sweetness level and without changing the sweetness profile, because this is still based on sugar. So that's pretty much, without going into too much technical details,
the
idea. So it's not about anything chemical. We're not creating a new molecule here. It's just about the way we structure the sugar crystals that allows them to break and dissolve faster.
And I think I should also highlight that before you came on here, I was researching it, and I read that Incredo Sugar was also recognized in a special mention in the Best Inventions of 2020 by Time magazine, which is just phenomenal. But can you share some insights on the development process and also some of the challenges that you might have faced along the way too?
Yeah, so obviously, like almost every new technology, it took us a few years to develop. Since the first patent that was written in 2014, so just about 9 years old, we now have 56 patents around this technology. So it was a long process from the idea of Professor Abraham Benniel until the product we currently have commercially available in the markets. And I think that the idea was there. It took us quite a few years to come to the final structure that is delivering on our promise. And one of the main challenges we're still facing, which is not directly connected to our technology, is that once you reduce a significant amount of sugar from any application, you need to add fillers to replace the sugar that was left out. So, sugar is not just taste. It's also a functional ingredient that adds texture and bulk to the product. So if you take a cake, as an example, a simple example, you remove big amount of sugar out of it, you'll get a pita bread. So it will not grow to become the cake we all love. So a big part of the challenge is not just how to reduce sugar, but what do you do with the bulk that is now needed and the texture that is lacking. So what we provide to our customers, which are the food companies, is the entire recipe in a way, not just to reduce on the sugar, but what to put back into the recipe to replace and maintain the bulk and the texture, etc. And that is still a challenge that we know how to solve today. But definitely, this process takes time. So for the food companies to change the recipe and reduce significantly on sugar and use other ingredients to replace the sugar with, it's a difficult process for them. But since everybody's looking for sugar reduction, it's something that those companies, most of the big companies now in the world, are testing and developing, and hopefully we'll see more and more launches with our technology inside.
And if we take a step back from the technology for a moment, what are the potential health benefits of using Incredo Sugar in everyday diets? And also, how does it impact our overall sugar consumption? Because it sounds like it could make quite a big impact there.
Yeah, so we need to realize that, sugar by itself is not the problem. Sugar is a natural ingredient that is a great source of energy to our body. The problem is that we consume too much of it. So in average, globally, we consume about 4 times more sugar than we should, which drives the biggest pandemic of obesity and overweight, which is killing millions of people every year. So, obesity will drive heart problems and a lot of other health problems. And it is designated by the UN as one of the biggest problems derived out of the food industry. So it's quite obvious that we need to reduce on sugar. However, at the same time, people love the taste of sugar, not to say addicted to the taste of sugar. So one way is to use sugar alternatives with the problems that I've mentioned earlier. So they have a different taste, and now it's kind of recognized that they're not healthier than sugar. So this is definitely not the solution. The way to improve on public health is to significantly reduce the levels of sugar that we all consume. Mm-hmm. And if you think about the potential technology that can allow a reduction of 40 to 50%, imagine that you will consume 50% less sugar from tomorrow onwards. This will definitely decrease the level of obesity and the problems associated with this huge consumption of sugar. But we also need to remember that sugar is not just a health problem, it's also a sustainability problem for our planet. And this is not really known, but sugar is the largest crop being grown on Earth. It is almost as big as number 2 and number 3 combined, which is rice and wheat. So it takes a lot of resources from Earth, from water to pollution, CO2 emission. Sugar by itself as a single crop contributes to more than 3% of the global CO2. Which is more than the entire aviation industry, as an example. So by significantly reducing on our sugar consumption, we're not only improving the health of population around the world, but also making our planet more sustainable. So this is definitely in the core of what we do and part of our mission.
Wow, some mouthwatering stats you dropped in there. And of course, one of the biggest requirements is getting the industry to change, which can be a challenge on itself. So how are you working with food manufacturers, etc., to incorporate Incredo Sugar to their products? And what has been the response from the industry so far when you're approaching them with this?
So first of all, we need to realize that the industry is looking for a solution. The big food companies like the Ferreros and basically all the big food companies understand, and it's mainly driven by consumer demand and regulation, that they need to cut on sugar. So we're approaching a market that is looking for a solution. We do not need to create the demand. We need to bring the solution. And that's a wingtail that we're absolutely enjoying. So our approach is, we're focusing on the U.S. is our primary market, where we started our launch just under 2 years ago. And over the past, I would say 6 months, we've launched into Europe. as well as parts of Asia, and then the next year will be in South America. So over the next 12 to 24 months, we'll become completely global. And the way we approach the market is we work directly as an ingredient company with the food manufacturers. So, the big ones, as well as the medium-sized one, and even the smaller ones. The idea is to approach the food companies. I'm glad to say that because our solution is so unique, they mostly approach us when they hear about our technology. And then you start a project of developing a solution for one of the recipes. So that would be a trial process of developing and testing and developing and testing, which sometimes take up to 2, 3, and sometimes even more years. We need to realize that the food industry is quite conservative. And for companies to reduce on sugar, it's a big thing for them. It's a big thing because, first of all, they need to maintain the original taste of the product. That's the number one criteria for consumers to choose a brand is and will continue to be taste. So products that have familiar taste consumers learn to appreciate would be very, very cautious before they change and reduce on sugar. So far, they couldn't do it because that using the sugar alternatives would change the original taste of the product, which means that that's a huge risk for them that they will not take. But now, since our technology has been presented, more and more companies understand that they can actually reduce on sugar without changing the original taste of the product, which creates a whole new opportunity for them. So I have to say that the market reaction to our technology has been amazing. We are currently running hundreds of projects with hundreds of companies across the world that are testing our technology in different recipes under different brands. We've already started launching. So 2022 was our first commercial year. Since the beginning of this year, we have like 4 or 5 launches in the US. We're expecting to have a few more this year. But as I said, those projects take time. So we're expecting 24 and 25 will be the years where you will definitely see more and more brands with our technology on the shelf.
And as you said, the proof is in the tasting there. And I appreciate you probably can't share too many names at this stage. It is very early. But are there any examples of products that are using Incredo Sugar at the moment? And ultimately, what is the consumer feedback on that taste and experience we've been talking about?
Yeah, so most of the companies, I cannot mention names because, of confidentiality, etc. The one name I can mention is a launch we did last year in the US with a company called Blomer. Not very known in Europe, but Blomer is the largest B2B chocolate company in the US. So they produce chocolate as a raw material, selling it to companies like Hershey's and Mars and others. So we've been working very closely with Blomer for the past 2 years to develop a solution for their chocolate. And I'm happy to say that just about 10 months ago, they've launched 2 new lines of chocolates under their portfolio, one with 30% reduce and the second one with 50% reduce. And they're now going to their portfolio of customers, hundreds of customers in the US, offering their technology or their chocolate actually with our technology inside in what they call the biggest innovation that they even introduced to the US market in the past few years. So we're very excited about this partnership. It has a huge potential for us. But at the same time, we continue to work directly with the CPGs, so with the brands. And those I cannot mention name without their approval. So you will have to forgive me.
No problem at all. I think you're onto something here. I must admit, if I was in an airport or somewhere and I saw 50% less sugar chocolate bar, I'd give it a try for sure. If it tastes good, I'd keep eating that. Let me tell you that much. But I've got to ask you, where do you go from here? What are your future plans and goals in this food tech space you find yourself? And how do you eventually envision the role of Incredo Sugar in shaping healthier food options for consumers? Is there anything you can share around the road ahead?
Yeah, so you need to realize, sugar industry is just huge. It's close to $90 billion. And it will take us a few years to penetrate a significant section of this market. So this is our main focus at the moment is going commercial. We have a team on the ground in the US, salespeople, as well as technical support people that are working very closely with the food companies. As I've mentioned earlier, we just launched into Europe about 6 months ago, so very early stages, but we're seeing really good reaction from European food companies. We continue to develop the next generations of our technology to make it even more efficient. So I believe we'll have some great news about this within the next few months. And our R&D teams continuously working on a long-term innovation pipeline. So we know what we're going to launch in 2, 3, and 4 years from now. And probably in a few years' time, we will go outside of the sugar into some of the other bad ingredients that are in our food. I cannot mention any specifics at the moment, but sugar is not the only problematic ingredient that we're using. So we already have some very interesting early stage solutions yet to be proven for some of the other bad ingredients that we're all consuming every day in most of our food applications.
Oh, wow. You've left us with a teaser too. It sounds like we'll have to get you back on later in the year to find out more about that. But before
having so much fun, I just needed to arrange my next conversation with you for a year or 2 years from now.
A little bit. And I kind of thank you for coming on here and sharing your time and stories and insights today. But I'm going to ask you to leave everyone listening with one final gift. And that is a song that means something to you for whatever reason that we can add to our Spotify playlist. But all I'm going to ask is, what are you going to leave us with and why?
I'm a frustrated singer. So in karaoke evenings, I take the mic and I'm not giving it away to anyone else, But if I need to choose a song, that would be, my favorite band of all times would be, yes, I'm old, Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah.
This is, the music I grew up with. So you can choose any one of their songs. I would probably go with Sound of Silence.
Yeah.
If I need to choose one, but any song of Simon Garfunkel is just, I told my kids that one day when I'm really old and they need to play a last song for me, they can choose whatever song from Simon Garfunkel. And, if they get together one more time, I'll go anywhere in the world to see them just before it won't be possible again.
Oh, what a great choice. I've got to ask, when you sing karaoke, do you have a particular Simon and Garfunkel song that you sing? Because they're pretty tough songs to sing, aren't they?
Is that tough? The last karaoke, I was going for Bohemian Rhapsody from Queen.
Yeah.
That would be a challenge. But, I try to arrange whenever there's either on my birthday or company evenings, I'll be the one raising my hand saying, let's have a karaoke night. Everybody's pretty much tired of me singing, so looking for other ideas.
Love it. Well, before I let you go, for anyone listening wanting to find out more information about Incredo Sugar, anything we talked about today, connecting with you or your team, etc., where would you like to point everyone listening to?
Well, they can go online into our website. We'll be happy to take any comments, questions. It's incredo.com. So very welcome to get online and talk to us there.
Well, I always try and explore different areas of technology every single day on this podcast that people don't automatically associate with tech. So I just love how you're a food tech company that is on this mission to cut the amount of sugar in the food we eat using sugar. It's just phenomenal what you're doing. I'm going to be on the lookout for Incredo Sugar in a product in the near future. I will report back on that taste as well. But more than anything, just thank you for not only sharing your story, but also leaving us with a great song too. So thanks for joining me today.
Thanks very much, Neil. Pleasure.
What a fantastic conversation. A huge thanks to Ari for joining us on Tech Talks Daily and sharing the fascinating journey of Incredo Sugar there. And I think it's just inspiring to see how they're transforming the food industry with their groundbreaking sugar reduction solution, pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible and the role of technology in doing that. So for those of you interested in learning more about Incredo Sugar, the extraordinary work they're doing, head over to their website for more information. And for those of you with a sweet tooth like myself, it's certainly worth giving it a try. I'll let you know once I track down a sample. But that's it for today's episode. So stay curious, keep exploring the boundaries of technology and innovation. But more than anything, thank you for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.